Good morning, YouTube. So it is Wednesday, I believe. I'm getting ready. So one thing, especially during summer, that you guys have to make sure you guys are doing, especially if you're on the heavier side like I am, you have to have a good breakfast to keep you. So I have a good breakfast. Luckily, I guess it's a good thing. Our baby wakes up at 5 to 5:30 anywhere, but pretty much I'm always up by 5:30 because that's just the time she wakes up. And normally around 6:15, I'll start making breakfast. And for me, it's always the same thing. I buy frozen waffles from Costco and like a 24 pack of the frozen sausages. And that's what I eat. It takes me like 10-15 minutes to make. Then sometimes I will go to Walmart and get like the frozen French toast, and I'll have frozen French toast with sausages. And then you can see my little coffee cup. I always gotta have my coffee. And then during lunch, I'll normally have a healthier selection. So, salad, just lettuce, ham, coleslaw that the wife made. So typically what you want to do is have a heavy breakfast, because that'll keep me going up to like 11, up until like 12 to 1. And once it starts to get really hot, then we'll take a lunch, and I'll have my salad with a water, Gatorade, or sometimes a soda, which I know contradicts the whole trying to be healthy. But then that keeps me going up to like 6 or 7, pretty much until I get home and I'll have dinner. But what I'm trying to say is you need to have a pretty good breakfast. You can't just have like a granola bar, and water or whatever. That's not going to keep you going, especially during this heat. I will say I am never hungry in the morning, but I force myself to eat. And I've seen improvements throughout my day. But waiting on Jacob, I am running a little bit late. But a couple of my videos ago, I said that I might had landed a commercial account, which I did. So Outback, and we serviced it last week, and this week the GM messaged me if we can service her again. Pretty much I set her up bi-weekly all year round, and it's $325 a month. So once you break it down, it's $150 each visit. The first visit, it took us like an hour, probably like an hour and a half. Excuse me. It took us an hour and a half that first visit, because it was overgrown. Pretty much the last person that serviced it was like a month. The last time it was serviced was like a month and a half ago. So when we got there, were just weeds everywhere, branches everywhere, leaves everywhere. So we had to kind of like pick up the bigger weeds and whatnot. And that just took longer. But anyway, she texted me today, even though we're not scheduled to go out this week, if I can fit her in, because her CEO's in town. And of course, when your boss is coming, you need to make sure everything's perfect. So she wants us to service the outside again. You'll see, I'll record it, but you'll see it's very straightforward. It's easily just blowing, and very little mowing, very little trimming. Now that we got it under control, it might take us like 30 to 40 minutes, maybe, because we're still trying to get it back to where it should be. But I think after that third or fourth visit, once it's really where we want it to be, it should take us like 20 to 25 minutes. So it's a great account that my buddy, he actually sees me, I think on TikTok or YouTube. He has his own lawn care company, and he used to service that area, but he lived like 40-50 minutes away from it, and it just didn't make sense for him to to keep going there. So he called me like, hey, I watch your videos, is this something you're interested? And I was like, sure. So that's great. I did get a comment asking how much I'm making from ads, because I guess you guys are getting hit with ads. Nothing. But that kind of like, that kind of got me thinking, like, maybe I should, monetize or try monetizing my account or my YouTube page and try to make money off of it. Might as well. And like I said, if I ever do start making like crazy money, I'm definitely going to give out more, I'm going to give out more giveaways and whatnot. So I haven't forgotten, especially to the people that have been subscribing to me for the longest. We are 100 subscribers away. I said once I hit 1,500, I'm going to give out $200. This would be the third time that I'm giving out money. I think the first time was 100. The second time was 100. This time it's going to be 200. And then the next giveaway probably won't be till like 10,000 subscribers. And then that will, I'll see what I do. But once we get closer, or once we pass that number, then, I'll come up with something. But, hit that subscribe button, because there will be requirements of what you need to do to you know, get that $200, but I'm going to split it between two people. That way, two people have a good chance of getting that money. But anyways, let's go. So there she is. Let me turn this guy off. So this is literally the only strip that we mow. Let me get it. Oh, so you can see Jacob coming this way. He's going to start mowing. I thought he already mowed. He really doesn't even have to mow. Well, actually, I think he's trying to weed eat, but I already weed eated everything. I think that's all I'm going to start blowing. Yeah, he was going to help me weed eat, but I pretty much weed eat it. Pretty much everything that we needed. But like I was saying, yeah, that section, he did mow already. It looked mowed. And then pretty much everything else is just blowing. You know, and then we just weed eat around these rock beds. Make it look nice. So again, this is the second visit, so that's why it looks pretty clean. But pretty much the GM's CEO is coming over, and of course she wants, you know, her store to look nice, and that's why she sent me a message like, hey, can you add an extra service for us? And you know, sure, I'm not gonna turn down easy money. So very grateful. Sorry, it's a little windy, so the wind might be getting some of this audio, but I'm very grateful for this account from, his name is Mike. I'll put up his Google page. Just give him a shout out because he definitely deserves it, or not deserves it, but I feel like I need to do something to give back for that weed. Easy account. So pretty much when the GM reached out to me, I can kind of walk in this video. I can kind of like talk to you guys about how I landed this account. Pretty much, you know, like I said, like he pretty much gave it to me, but when the GM reached out to me, it's been like a month and a half, and pretty much he set everything up, and all, you know, he's like, all you got to do is show up and start servicing the property. But I'm like, I need to talk to the GM at least, you know, and make sure we're on the same page, because I know I run my business differently than a lot of other people, because, you know, a lot of other companies are going to do net 15 or net 30, you know, net 45, and pretty much what that means, if you don't know, is that after you service a property, after 30 days or 45 days is when you'll get paid. And I don't do that. I get paid per service, or I bill at the beginning of the month. So for this one, I have her credit card on file, and I'm partnered up with QuickBooks and with Stripe. For this account, I'm using Stripe. You just download the app. You just pretty much download the app, and it lets you save the credit card on file, and you can just charge it. You can manually charge it. They do charge, I think, like a 7% fee or something like that, or 10% fee. The fee's a little crazy, but just add that to, you know, to the fee, or add that to your prices, where the client is pretty much covering that fee for you. But with this account, you know, that's what I told her. I was like, you know, I was like, I need to talk to you first before I even go out, because she was like, hey, why haven't you serviced our property? And I was like, I haven't heard from you. You haven't called me. I was like, I need to talk to the boss lady, because, you know, her name is Sharon. I was like, I need to talk to the boss lady to make sure we're on the same page. I can't just show up and start servicing the property and then pulling teeth to get paid. And she's like, no, okay. She's like, well, I would love to set up an appointment, because her property really needed it. And pretty much the first visit, I was literally pulling weeds like, you know, it's pretty much as tall as the hydrangeas, or that small little hydrangeas. And it took, you know, that's why it took a good bit that first visit. But now, you know, it's quick and easy right now, which it should be as long as we keep coming out. But anyways, I told her, you know, I need a card on file. She said, okay. I told her my price, which this one's $325 a month, and we come out bi-weekly all year round, and that averages to like $150 each visit. So this visit would be an additional $150, since this is an extra charge or an extra service. But this is just to get our foot in the door. You know, eventually they're going to need some landscaping. They're going to need new pine straw around there. They might need new plants. They might need more rocks. So, you know, the list can go on and on of what future jobs this account is going to give us if I keep it. You know, I'm not holding, you know, I don't want to be attached to any one account. To me, it's like, if I get it, great. If not, it is what it is. They might need new plants. Now come fall, I am going to prune all the roses, and then that's pretty much going to be included, you know, with our prices, because that'd be like a full visit. Instead of us blowing, we'll come out and do that. Or if I need to come an extra day and not get paid for it, it is what it is, you know. But normally February, when, you know, everything, all these leaves fall down and we're not really doing anything because all the weeds stop growing, that's when me and Jacob will come out and prune them cut them back. You know, these crepe myrtles will cut back to make sure they're good to go for the next season. But yeah, you know, it's just one of those things where I'm in my business where, like I said, like if I get the account, great. If not, oh well, you know. But this is how I run my business. I don't want to be waiting 30, 45 days to get paid. Essentially, I could, and it's, you know, I'm not going to go broke from waiting from this one account. But I'm only going to get busier, and I don't want to be like, oh, let me go check on this account. Have they paid? Have they submitted the invoices? I need to sign up through the portal. It's just so much bullshit that as a business and as a growing business, I'm not going to do on my free time just because, you know, I only have like a day with my family right now, because normally on the weekends, Sundays, I'll do all my maintenance. I'll sharpen my blades, change the oil, get ready for the week. Because, you know, right now we're working 5 days out of the week. If we get rained out, then we're working on the weekends, which right now you can tell it's a little winded or a little overcast. But yeah, and then that's a good thing. Again, eventually you'll get to this point where you don't care if you land this account. You know, and I get paid automatically after each visit. And then moving forward, any other account, you know, if a lot of businesses, they'll do net 30. They're like, nope, if you don't want to do net 30, then we don't want your business, or we don't want to do business with you. And I'm just like, okay, because someone like them will, you know, there's people out there that will say yes to your policies and your systems that you've placed. And ultimately, I made these systems to make my life easier, so that I'm able to pay Jacob, so that if something breaks, I have that money in that account. I'm not waiting 30, 40 days to get paid for a service that we did. You know, and then sometimes you lose track and you're like, wait, is that the right amount? And then they go back and they're like, well, we have to audit it to make sure all the stars align, to make sure the days that you came out, that you're saying you came out, you did come out, let it go through the cameras and all this other unnecessary bullshit. So that's where I'm at with that. You know, again, there's a lot of people out there that run $1 million lawn care landscaping business that do this, and they're like, nope, we do net 30, no issues with them. That's great. I'm just not there yet. Maybe as I get more successful or busier, maybe I'll go towards that. But for now, I think this is the way to go for me, because I am a small lawn care business still. So I think it probably took us like 40 minutes this time, but a good like 10 minutes I was talking to Nikki for this video. It looks clean, looks good. I think she'll be pleased. And yeah, I definitely am thinking of buying the 9010Ts, the Echo backpack blowers, because those are pretty much have more power than what we're using right now, because I think this is the top of the line for steel. Or what I'm also thinking, because come winter, look at all these leaves that are going to fall. And I'm the one that's going to have to come down. Or we're the ones that are going to have to come and work. But that's a good problem to have during winter. Because like I said, come winter, you're not going to get any calls if because all the grass goes dormant. So I'm thinking of putting, or like taking, during the off season or when it starts to slow down, taking my mower to my welder, buying like a fan or a blower. Those that they have something where you can like push, and it's like a big old blower, but I'm sure they're heavy. But have him work something where he welds it on top of my mower, and then we're able to use it like a stand-on mower, kind of like Mickey Mouse. And Mickey Mouse is kind of like a Mexican term. Pretty much it means like you redneck it, pretty much, where you try something, you're like, it may look a little funny, but it does the work, or it'll get the job done and whatnot. So I think that's what I'm gonna do, is buy one of those blowers, take it to my welder, where he welds it on, and I would want something where like it rotates, where like if he's able to add a handle and we're able to like rotate it, but I don't know if it'll be too heavy for my mower, so it might have to be on the 52. I don't know. I'm sure he'll think of something. That's why, you know, that's why I pay him, or that's why, you know, he's the welder and I'm not. But anyways, we're done with this one. Let's keep on going. So now we're working on this property. This is one of my properties where I underbid when it first started. I've had them for 3 years. I don't even want to say my price because I know I underbid this one. But anyways, next year I am going to raise the prices, but they've been such great clients. And you know, again, mowing, when you get it, mowing is just for you to get your foot in the door. You know, for this one, I just trimmed that strip, so we're working on that one. Jacob did all that. He has asked me to place a bid for pine straw, but pine straw I'm expensive because I have to get it from someone else, and of course I have to charge double of what I'm getting. So for pine straw, I normally tell them I'm expensive. I still give them a bid, but I would say like 90% of the time they don't hire me. Something cool is that since I switched over to Echo, I wasn't using my regular weed eater, the 111 RX, and what I did is I got this combi hedge trimmer, and pretty much it has these two screws. You unloosen them from this one, and then you're able to put the combi hedge trimmer, and now it acts as a extended hedge trimmer. So that was pretty neat. I think the head was like $230, and you do the same thing to wherever that came from. You unscrew the two screws and you just slide it on, and it works. That's how I was able to get the top of that one, because you can tell this is pretty high. But I was saying, yeah, mowing will just get your foot in the door, and then you'll get more jobs out of that one property like this one. And then, you know, as you learn and you're like, oh, like me, you know, I was like, oh, I underbid myself. Let me, you know, come next year, I'm going to raise the prices and whatnot. But, you kind of have to pick your battles, especially when you start off. Like I was saying in my other videos, you're not going to, you know, be making these crazy numbers right off the bat, because you don't have the confidence, you don't have the equipment, you don't have, you know, the experience to back up, you know, these crazy numbers of what some of these guys are doing. And it just takes time. And funny enough, I didn't record before, but this client had like a little Porsche right there. You can see the Audi SQ7, very successful guy. But, you know, he came out and I pretty much just asked him, like, hey, you know, what's your advice for someone like me? Or what would you tell yourself if you were younger? How can we be successful? And he kind of like, he's like, wow, he's like, you know, it takes time. You know, because he's not old, but, you know, he is older than me. But he's like, you know, it just takes time for you to build wealth, for you to really be good at your trademark and really build something over time. And he was like, and if you put the hours in, sooner or later you're gonna make those big bucks. And at the end of the day, it's something, if you enjoy something and you have a lot of passion for it, it's gonna show. And then he kind of just said, like, you know, like you know, like with this business or with whatever else it's going on, if you put the time, dedication, and it's something that you don't dread doing every morning, pretty much I'll be where he's at, where, you know, he has like a, you know, this is probably like a $900,000 home, corner lot. He had a Porsche, all these nice cars, beautiful property. So I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, I know I'll be there one day. It's just a matter of time. And I don't, you know, I love doing this. I don't dread it. Like I said, it has a few days where it's miserable out here, but I would say about like 80 or 90% of the time, I love doing this. But anyways, I think this is it for this video. Like always, like, subscribe. Woo. So we just finished up. I think we're gonna get rained on any minute now. But I did just get a comment saying pretty much when you start off, you're willing to do any work. And that's what I'm saying. And he said first 2 years. I agree. The first 2 years when you start off, you're gonna do anything and everything to land those jobs. You're gonna shortchange yourself. And it's just part of the process, unless you know your worth right off the bat and you have that that mindset, or you have that confidence in you, or you know you can deliver like great, excellent work compared to these other guys that are charging those prices. If you think right off the bat your skill level is where their skill level's at, by all means, you know, you're gonna be bidding higher. You're gonna be right there with them. But these clients expect that type of work from you. And for me, I wasn't there when I first started, you know. My first client, or one of my first clients, came out and literally screamed at me because I wouldn't blow their driveway, I wouldn't edge. And he pretty much, you know, I've told this story before, but pretty much he told me, he's like, hey, he's like, when you go to the barber, do they just cut the sides, or do they cut the whole thing? And you know, I knew exactly where he was going, so I kind of just stayed quiet. And he's like, that's what you're doing to my property. He's like, you're literally just mowing and leaving. Like, I wouldn't even blow or trim. And that's just how naive I was. You know, and that really shook me. I was like, okay, let me go on TikTok. This was before TikTok started, so I was like, let me get on YouTube, let me read some articles, let me do something where I have a better idea of what I'm doing, instead of me just going out there and just being all willy-nilly about it. But yeah, I agree, you know, and now he's saying he's pretty much where, you know, where I'm at, where, you know, if it's an overgrown, you got to double or triple charge them, because you're bringing it back where it should be, even though they neglected that property or their property for 2, 3, 4 months or whatever. But anyways,